Let's make a disco cowgirl car charm. I'm using clear beads from this strand, some rhinestones, a cowgirl hat, and a disco ball charm. I'm actually going to start by cutting this wire so I can remove the disco ball from the head pin. Now using a new head pin, slide on the bead cap along with the disco ball. So for this next part, I'm using a white hat, but you can always use a different color. Now add a hat bead along with a smaller spacer bead. I'm adding this extra silver bead because of the way the hat is shaped. Next up, use a 1-step looper to close off the head pin, and then use pliers to completely close the loop. Now it's time to add 2 rhinestones to the cowgirl hat. I decided to go with these cute little pink stars. They have an adhesive on the back of them, but just for extra security, I'm adding a little bit of glue. Don't forget to add a second rhinestone. The hat will be visible from both sides, so you don't want one side without a rhinestone. Next up, you're going to need bead stringing wire. Add a crimp bead and a split ring, then string the wire back through the crimp bead. For the crimping tool, you're going to use the kidney-shaped notch first and then the oval-shaped notch second. It should look kind of like a bow tie after the first notch. For the second notch, the crimp bead should be upright so that it folds over when you press down. Next, add a crimp cover to the crimp bead. Now it's time to start adding the beads onto the bead stringing wire. Once you've strung an inch or so worth of beads, make sure to string the extra wire back through the beads. So for this beaded part of the car charm, I'm mainly using these clear beads. But I wanted some pink on there to match the pink on the cowgirl hat, so I'm adding a few pink beads throughout. I ended up having around 10 clear beads between each pink bead. Once you've strung half of your beads at the disco ball charm, I added a 4mm jump ring to it just so it would dangle a little more. And I used a 4mm one because the beads I used are 4mm. Alright, so once you've added that, you're just going to keep stringing the beads until the end. Because I used seed beads, they all kind of varied in sizes. So I had to make sure the pink beads lined up even if I strung the same amount of beads as the other side. Since this is a car charm, I didn't want it dangling too long to get in the way of driving. I strung around 10 inches worth of total beads with about 5 inches on either side of the disco ball. So once you're finished beading, add a crimp bead and a split ring. String the wire back through the crimp bead and then through an inch or so worth of beads. Just like how you did before, use the crimping tool on the crimp bead and then add a crimp cover. Don't forget it's the kidney-shaped notch first and then the oval-shaped notch second. Also cut any extra wire if you have any. Now you're going to need 2 hinged closures. Add one to each split ring on the end. And then here's the finished disco cowgirl car charm.